Whenever I begin an Ayurvedic consultation, I like to situate my clients in a core Ayurvedic truth. Health is your birthright. You are an inherently healthy being. Your essential self, your most subtlest body that permeates all of you but also reaches far beyond you, that which we call the Ananda Maya Kosha or your bliss body, is in an eternal state of joy, ecstasy, and vitality. And this body is your innermost and also truest self in that it is indestructible and timeless and in perfect health. Call this self what you will, your divine self, God, Dhamma, Atman, Sophia, Shiva, or Christ consciousness. It is this ultimate point of truth, goodness, and beauty, that thousand-petaled lotus, or then that eternal state of inner union. And this is your inheritance. Regardless of your lineage, ethnicity, and belief, this point of illumination is alive within you, right here, right now. For purposes of this teaching, I will stick to the Ayurvedic and Yogic lens, though I personally am engaged with mystic traditions from across the world and across time, and they inform my work with great ferocity. The wisdom of Ayurveda is that it helps you to experience more and more of your own innate radiance, not by bypassing your material, energetic, or emotional body, neither imposing rigid constraints from the outside in, nor diagnosing symptoms as localized problems that need to be fixed through suppression or forced removal, or neither working solely through the mind or solely through the body. Instead, this wisdom systematically teaches you how to listen to and how to work with the incredible intelligence that is encoded within the microcosm that is your psyche and your body together, and within the macrocosm that is the entire planetary field, so that you can return home to lasting health. And this is what I want to get into today. Every single challenge that we experience with our health, whether it be agitations in the mind, irregularities in the hormones, malfunctions in the gut, problems with sleep, reactivity, neurosis in intimate relationships, defensiveness, irritation, all of it, they're all essentially symptoms of a disconnect from this deeper spiritual core. And Ayurveda outright says this: the root of all disease is a forgetfulness of one's true self. Because if you were situated within your highest point of awareness, you would no longer betray your own wisdom. You would breathe in a way that is vitalizing and regenerative for you. Stress and stagnation would be flushed out with every exhale. You would be in complete acceptance of reality as it is, move and act in loving kindness, feel held by a larger fabric of intelligence, and rest easy in your body, right in the midst of those usual triggers. And this is the grounds for health, for sustained energy levels, for an exuberant and inspired mind, for aligned and kind action. The gorgeous thing about Ayurveda and inner yoga, Tantra, Kundalini yoga, is that it orients you towards this truth through simple, daily, very practical fine-tunes. It understands that all of you, your physical body, the food you eat, your daily routine, your energetic inputs, your spiritual ethics, your sexual relations, your environment, all of it, so on, they are all doing either one of two things. Either one, helping you clear out the layers of gunk that keep you clouded from this truth, or then two, help you stay blind and stuck in this dark abyss of forgetfulness. The approach here is holistic, it's full-bodied and universal, meaning it engages all of you. And it works with the timeless laws of nature, which is why both Ayurveda and yoga have been around as functional sciences for over 5,000 years, continuing to help heal thousands of people across the world. And most importantly, it takes into account the fact that you have a unique inner ecology, live within a unique context, arrive at this path in a unique moment of mental readiness and time, and thus cannot be slapped with one-size-fits-all health plans, performative prayers, or pills. That being said, there are some common things that the ancient mystics who were anchoring daily into their eternal and illuminated selves were doing and saw was absolutely necessary for any human to do, especially those who were living worldly lives like you and I. And they expounded on these very practical steps within the Ayurvedic and Yogic texts, and I share 3 of these steps here with you now. The first is purifying your body of what they called ama. Ama is understood as toxic, undigested waste that accumulates in the body due to poor digestion and slow metabolism. It's considered a major root cause of various health issues, and it's linked to an imbalance in the body's digestive fire, known as Agni. So you can think of this digestive fire as your inbuilt processing power, your capacity to process past experiences, stress, viral infections, the food you eat, and so on. So when it's down, shit accumulates within you. And over time, over years of neglect and ignorance, this shit begins to get so stuck within you that you actually begin to believe it is you. Your entire vessel gets clogged up with old thought loops, traumatic imprints, environmental pollutants, undigested food, compulsive habits, and it distorts your perception completely. And it becomes so deep-seated that it creates chronic health challenges, and you truly believe that this is your inherent state of being. So many people have accepted this clogged up reality as their baseline, and they don't even recognize how much they've normalized this exhausted, clouded, fogged up headspace, and then act out from this headspace and perpetuate more of this exhaustion and fogginess. The absolute first thing that I do with clients is help them to purge this ama. Because once this toxicity is flushed out, then we come to see truer underlying energetic imbalances or spiritual transgressions, if any at all. And it's in this clearer state that clients themselves are able to actually access their own intuition and wisdom with a lot more immediacy, which makes for a more fluid and consistent up-leveling of daily thought, health, and action. An advice, a very simple advice and tip I give to all my clients to help them flush out ama through their natural detox pathways, regardless of their unique situation, is to choose warm, cooked, and hot food and drinks as opposed to cold, raw, and iced food and drinks. This might sound too simple to be true, but it is not. The mystics saw that Agni, this digestive fire or internal processing power, was truly like a little campfire situated in the belly. And because the natural law is that like increases like, meaning things of the same quality amplify one another, bringing in warm and hot energy into the body helps to kindle this fire, helps it to burn brighter and stronger, whereas bringing in cold and iced energetics works to extinguish it. Meaning warm water, cooked foods would help to boost this fire of discernment and metabolism, whereas cold and ice drinks and foods would weaken it. Another very logical and basic way to understand this is that hot expands, whereas cold contracts. We all studied this in physics. And if you're trying to support circulation, support the purgation and release of old, sticky, toxic material in your body, hot water is going to help your body's channels to open up and push through the stuck, undigested junk stored within your tissues, blood vessels, colon, emotional body, and muscles. I'm sure you've experienced this on a very instinctual level. If you're experiencing constipation, for example, which is a stuckness of bowels and mind, or bloating and burping, which indicates a weak Agni or weak digestive power, you have turned towards a cup of hot water to help get things moving. Well, this is exactly it. Help get things moving consistently, daily, and watch how your mind-body system clears up, your immune system powers up, and fatigue and dysregulation get flushed out. I witnessed this cleansing and this clearing on the results of this clearing on a super magnified scale when I was guiding my clients through a panchakarma in India last year. So a panchakarma is basically the final boss of deep detoxification. It's about 2 to 3 weeks of personalized cleansing, working with customized herbs, lubricating the internal channels of your body, sweating, massage and lymphatic drainage therapies, dietary fine-tunes, yogic techniques, and induced purgation or enemas to help eliminate the deepest layers of toxins in your body and ultimately rejuvenate your body. Unfortunately, in our modern world, in our current times, 99.9% of Ayurvedic doctors focus solely on eliminating physical toxins. But having experienced the panchakarma process myself multiple times before, having spoken intimately with others who had too, I knew that this final boss of purification was a deep emotional and energetic purge and reset as well. After all, the body and mind are interconnected, and ancient texts themselves alluded to the fact that this clearing was a powerful spiritual process too. So I wanted to support my clients in using the panchakarma to clear out the ama that expressed itself as old mental patterns, spiritual disconnect, and residual feelings of hurt, anger, and sadness that had been extra challenging for them to shake off. Every morning of the 2-week panchakarma at 6:30 a.m. sharp, I guided my clients through contemplations, pranayama breathing, meditations, helping them to get really precise on what old belief or fear they were ready to let go of, once and for all, and how they could integrate this intention and resolution through the cleansing process of the day to come. I supported this further through one-on-one coaching that was designed to help them actually come to terms with all this gunk that they were saying goodbye to and remain gentle and steady inside. One of them shared about a harsh betrayal from a friend and old-time artistic collaborator that had been haunting her for the last years. Another about the deep rage she had held onto for almost all of her life towards the patriarchy and men in general. Another about the hurt and neglect she had felt from her closest family members since a young child. These are feelings my clients had attached themselves to for far too long. Unprocessed toxicity, ama, that was making them feel unwell in many ways and they were now ready to let go of. At the end of the 2 weeks, it became crystal clear that those unprocessed emotions had been released completely. All 3 of my clients reported feeling lighter than ever before, buzzing with clarity and deep compassion towards those that had hurt them. This complete 360 within just 2 weeks of clearing the body of decades of stuck ama. Here are the exact words of Suzanne, one of the clients that experienced this. She says, I quote, "As an outcome of the pilgrimage to India and the Panchakarma, I witnessed a new capacity for me to co-create and welcome magic, wellness, and spirit into my life, trusting my amazing body and surrendering to its knowledge. Niv truly supported this process, helping me see it most clearly and facilitating my move beyond deep betrayal, loss, and grasping for security, to relax more fully into being myself, planted in the moment. Niv's presence during the healing detox was exceptional. She was fully committed to our process. It touched me deeply. I felt her teaching reach a powerful level of love and joyful engagement. And so it is, as T.S. Eliot and Dante say, from wrong to wrong that exasperated spirit proceeds, unless restored by that refining fire. As the mystics advised, flush your system of armor through choosing hot water through the day and avoiding iced and cold foods and drinks, and commit to a panchakarma, one that is facilitated in a heart-centered, discerning, and intimate way. The second advice given by mystics over the ages is, do what is needed to shift yourself out of the tamasic state and into a sattvic state. Now, tamas and sattva are two of the three modes of existence that are inherent to all of reality. This is a psychological and philosophical concept core to Ayurveda, yoga, and Hindu philosophy. What exactly does tamas signify? That which obscures, that which hides or makes dark. And what exactly does sattva mean? Sattva is the codex that illuminates or reveals that which is true, that which reveals the infinite light of truth, that which purifies and clears. So to shift out of a tamasic state of darkness and mental forgetfulness and towards a sattvic state of luminosity and inspiration and beauty. Again, this movement and purification is key to the Ayurvedic and Yogic method. And again, not only is it deeply psychological, but also wholeheartedly involves the physical body, the mundane tasks of everyday life, the tangible tools of energetic hygiene, and it is ultimately a spiritual path. And what is a key way in which this was experienced and facilitated? Through contemplating on spiritual texts, turning to mystics further along the path than them, and learning from embodied teachers, human and non-human. And this is exactly what they outlined for all of us, not limited to religious belief, profession, or age, whoever you are, however you arrive here. As T.S. Eliot so eloquently says, if you came this way, taking any route, starting from anywhere, at any time or any season, it would be the same. You are here to kneel where prayer has been valid. And prayer is more than an order of words, the conscious occupation of the praying mind, or the sound of the voice praying. Here, the intersection of the timeless moment. Meaning, regardless of who you are, the work is to bow in contemplative and humble attitude and take action that isn't about the conscious mind or the performance of praying or a perfected ritual, rather an attitude or choice that helps you touch the divine eternality of the present moment. These are, in fact, the first two instructions given by Sri Rama, the ancient Hindu king, to advance in the path of Bhakti Yoga, or the yoga of devotion, so that you can experience sustained psychological and spiritual upliftment. He says, 1. Associate with those whose hearts are as tender as freshly churned butter. And also 2. Listen to the stories of God and the teachings of wisdom, justice, truth, beauty, and virtue. He explains that it's necessary to spend time with these masters and texts and also to imbibe these teachings by softening and opening your own hearts, contemplating on what you feel and see, and then internalizing these qualities to the extent that they are revealed in your own inner being. And this is what expands the sattvic state of mind. This is what awakens and heals. This transformation is felt in the heart, and maybe it's never fully grasped by the mind. And that's just okay. In fact, it's perfect. Because to be in a state of sattva means that your mind has accepted it won't always understand the boundlessness of God and divine intelligence. It won't always understand your body's own incredible healing intelligence and the presence of this boundless, beautiful light within you. You are no longer addicted to the finiteness of yourself. You have allowed yourself to be broken open by the codes alive in these spiritual texts, mystics, the logic-shattering beauty of nature, and the tender hearts of our beloved teachers and guides. This is how I feel it, to quote from a sonnet I recently received by Malcolm Guides. And to that light, the light in us leapt up. We felt it quicken somewhere deep within. A sudden blaze of long extinguished hope trembled and tingled through the tender skin. Nor can this blackened sky, this darkened scar, eclipse that glimpse of how things really are. And this means everything to me. This nourishes me to the point of overwhelm, really, and I recommend this for you too. Finally, the third. The mystics guide us to clear ourselves of the blockages of shame and rise freely and fluidly towards the healing frequencies of loving compassion and a revelation of the divine nature of all things. What does this mean? Well, first, let us explore shame, what it looks and feels like, where it traps us, and why this causes disease. Interestingly, the origin of the word shame comes from the root meaning to cover or covering oneself, quite aptly pointing to how shame motivates us to hide essential parts of ourselves out of fear of rejection or judgment. The thing that I've come to realize about shame is that it isn't just an individual predicament. It really is a universal archetype that permeates the collective field. All major religious institutions, cultural and social norms, narratives around humanness, schools, medical institutions, and really all institutions of power. To share personally, and give an example, I think on such a foundational level, I was raised with the assumption that to have a female body, a body with breasts and sensuality, a body that changed and grew and had fat and was desired, was itself a thing to be ashamed of. This shame governed how I dressed myself, how I felt with men, with women too, how I tried to control my weight, my relationship with food, how I managed my image, how I embraced or rejected my own femininity, how I tried to compensate for this shame through really toxic forms of validation seeking. Just all pervasive, really, touching every single aspect of my life and my well-being. And this is just one example. Shame is a blockage that keeps you stuck operating out of the lower frequencies of your sacral chakra, or the energetic center located in your lower abdomen that governs emotions, creativity, and sensuality. When energy is trapped here, you gaze at life through a distorted lens of guilt, low self-esteem, and forgetfulness. All mishaps, conflicts, and injuries feel like personal inadequacies. The behavior and words of others feel like direct attacks on the self. The myopic ego mind is hyperactive. Choices are governed by this silent and persistent need to hide your true self, hide yourself as you are, not only from people external to you, but also from yourself. And the reactionary impulses that come through when you hide yourself from yourself are basically fatal. You don't live your life in integrity. You're in a constant state of defensiveness and insecurity, grasping tightly onto this fixed mask of performance, or fixed mask or performance of niceness, which translates to the way you experience stress, hold tension, feed yourself, love or then loathe your body, suppress your sexuality or then are quietly enslaved by repressed greed and lust. Everything is in the dark. Your body bottles up its truest expression, and this slowly kills your vitality, creative power, and emotional intelligence. Shame is dangerous, and it is a root cause of disease. But here's the catch. Your shame, those dark parts of you, it's all encoded within the fabric of divine intelligence, and it is nothing to be ashamed of. You cannot meet your demons with self-loathing. Instead, the invitation is to receive these demons fully and watch how they quite simply lose power when met by your loving gaze. Now, Western psychology has broken down shame into a couple of categories. I list a few here so you can get a better feel for it and if any of this pertains to you, and you might want to take note. So there is something called self-evaluation shame, which looks like you harshly judging yourself and looping through thoughts like, I don't deserve this, I'm not worthy of this relationship or this career, I can't achieve that. And it's often linked to reaction patterns that perpetuate this belief around self-worth, like performing quote-unquote shameful actions like binge eating, addiction, procrastination, lying, self-sabotage, self-loathing, self-talk, and so on. Then there's unwanted exposure shame, feeling exposed for perceived flaws in front of others, which leads to people-pleasing behaviors, over-analyzing past or future conversations, eating disorders, social anxiety, over-performing to receive value from external sources. On a similar vein, there is performance shame, shame arising from failing to meet personal or societal goals, like not succeeding at a particular career path, disappointing family or friends, not living up to social or cultural ideas of material success, womanhood, manhood, parenthood, physical beauty. And basically, in order to cover up this shame, you do things that are out of alignment for you. You push yourself in ways that are not true. You make decisions that aren't in integrity. And I can quite honestly say that this performance shame had been such an insidious burden for me for so long. It really did infect my mind. And on some levels, I still am in the process of clearing myself of this shame. And finally, a shame from unrequited love, experienced during rejection from others, the painful feeling of not being loved or accepted by family, outcast by old friends groups, abandoned in love relationships, which creates a deep sense of hurt, terrible yearning, feelings of inadequacy or comparison or hiding. So shame is all pervasive. It exists within everyone and everywhere. And it takes real commitment and courage to eliminate the shame, not through further hiding or repressing, nor through moral righteousness, definitely not, or imposing control and constraints. Does not work. Been there, done that. But rather through tender practices that purify the body, transform the low frequencies, and illuminate the higher self within. And interestingly, the origin of the word apocalypse comes from the root meaning to reveal, which is obviously quite the opposite of the root meaning of shame, which was to cover. So this is to reveal. Wow. And I contemplate on this often. If the experience of the highest goodness, the apocalyptic moment of truth, the revelation, is hidden within our courage to see, accept, and love ourselves as we are, in all our rawness, nudity, and imperfection, then this witnessing is the ultimate antidote, whereas shame or covering up is the ultimate virus. This perspective aligns perfectly with the above two guidelines on purification and illumination, but I'll offer a practice that is advised by the mystics specifically for releasing the blockage of shame on an energetic and subconscious level. The practice is sitting down, sitting still, even if it's just for 12 minutes, putting on the timer, 12 minutes, closing your eyes, and paying attention to your breath as it is, without manipulation, distraction, or judgment. This attentiveness extends to when you lose focus on your breath, when thoughts arise and you notice these thoughts and you notice that you have lost focus of your breath, you've been swept by these thoughts, and then finally you return to your breath. The thoughts that arise, the distractedness, the messiness of the practice, the process, the whole thing is observed with complete acceptance and equanimity. Within the tradition of pranayama and yoga, this technique is known as prana nigraha. Within the Buddhist tradition, it is known as anapana, and within Tantra, it is a fundamental ground zero for Kundalini Yoga. Observing the breath, the subtle breath, the sensations of the breath, the endless rising and falling of the breath, coming and going through the nostrils, the thoughts that erupt during this breathing process, the feelings and sensations that arise in the subtle body, the emotional body, the warmth and coolness of the breath, the tightness or looseness of your body, the absence or presence of focus. All of this is witnessed with acceptance and calm. What are you doing within this practice? You are essentially allowing the subtle field of you to be as it is, to not try and hide from it, to not try and cover it, to not try to manipulate or control. In a sense, to not be ashamed of it and to witness it in all its nudity, filth, fluctuations, brokenness, passion, and vulnerability. Whatever it is, with complete love, just witnessing reality, the truth of your reality as it is, not rejecting, repressing, judging, or controlling. And through this practice, returned to day in and day out, you start to cultivate a mental mastery, an ability to notice the unseen and subtle realms of life, as well as release the deepest, innermost calcifications of shame, and open yourself to this timeless field of goodness and truth, which is the revelation. You learn to meet stress with pause, stillness, and wisdom, as opposed to old compulsions. You clean the lens of forgetfulness, of old confining narratives around sin and value, and experience within the depths of your being how you are enfolded within the interiority of the divine. You can never be any less than the beloved of the divine. And so your thoughts, feelings, and choices begin to be the most loving that they can be. The antidote to shame is remembrance. You rise out of a stuckness in your sacral chakra and begin to live out of the heart center instead. You gaze at life through the eyes of love, abundance, and generosity. This is a clear path towards your embodied health and longevity. Through the practice of this breath awareness, you begin to touch an inner field of union, a union between Shakti, your creative impulses, your emotions, your body's life force, and Shiva, pure awareness. And it is in this union that you find your perfectly balanced and inspired state of mind, your regulated nervous system. All chronic health issues dissolve away. I'm reminded now of a question a teacher of mine, James Finley, asks when thinking about the collective decay and disease of our modern times. He asks, how might we heal from our exile of the primordial world and the primordial depths of ourselves? I personally read this exile to mean essentially a kind of shame, this willful disconnect from our own fundamental nature as spiritual beings. So it really is in this clearing of shame, this cleansing of forgetfulness of our divine nature through very practical, ancient, tangible, accessible, spiritual practice that we heal, that you heal, so that you can live your everyday life moved by an inner luminosity, Be flooded with the question, what is the most loving thing I could do right now for my body, my mind, for others? And follow these loving impulses with fearless action. You are no longer performing or acting for others' approval. You no longer feel like you aren't worthy of love or need to manipulate your truth in order to be loved. Your center of gravity is no longer outside of you. This beautiful passage from the Brothers Karamazov comes to me right now, describing the main character, Alyosha, and his spectacular moments of spiritual awakening. I quote here, "Why he embraced the earth, he did not know. He did not try to explain it to himself, why he so desperately wanted to kiss it, all of it. But weeping, he kissed it, sobbing and drenching it with his tears, and frenziedly swore to love it until the end of ages. Drench the earth with the tears of your joy and love those tears of yours," resounded in his soul. What did he weep about? Oh, he wept in his ecstasy, even about those stars that shone to him out of the abyss, and was not ashamed of this frenzy. As though threads from all these countless of God's worlds had all collided within his soul at once, and it trembled all over. End quote. I feel this deeply. To not be ashamed of this frenzy. Or as Blake says, exuberance is beauty. To no longer attempt to make small, diminish, or hide my logic-shattering desire to be exuberant, joyful, and in alignment with my truth. To live in wondrous awe of all that is beautiful and miraculous. And through this total acceptance of my frenzies, I will also be in a constant, persevering state of self-correction, not guided by shame or judgment, but guided by love, by love, by love. The mystics remind me, and I remind you now, that there is no reason to be ashamed of your desires, of your unique impulses, of your past errors and current imperfections, of the ways in which you do not fit in and can't be boxed up. It is stressful for the body to be anything other than what it is, or to be on anyone else's path or clock. This is the most harmful, as Krishna, the supreme yogi, teaches us himself in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. He says, paraphrasing here, "It is better to perform one's own duties, even if imperfectly, than to perform another's dharma perfectly. Following one's own path, even if it leads to death or difficulties, is safer than straying on the path of another." Implying, your unique confusions and calls are perfect because they are yours. And what feels truly good for you is what gets to be followed. All that was in the dark within you must be seen and met and embraced in the light of day without resistance, shame, or over-identification. Through embodied self-correction, you honor the past harms you might have committed and come to an even closer alignment with your unique gifts and dharma. This is the intelligence of your living body. Right now, right here, your body. Love yourself as you desire to be loved and are in fact loved by the highest truth, fully and openly. This is medicine. And you might ask, really, Niv? All of this is possible from a daily practice of tuning in to my natural breath? And the answer is yes. This practice is ancient and it is powerful. The breath is special in that it permeates not only the physical body, but also the energetic, subtle, and emotional body. It is vital life force, awareness, chi, oxygen, reciprocity with your environment, with the land, nervous system health, shakti, and cosmic intelligence all at once. Tune into your breath as it is. I have experienced the benefits of this practice in my own life, and I speak from this place. And I have observed the transformation that occurs in my clients who commit to this practice too. It is for you. Simple and consistent is good. Ayurveda teaches us this. And so, here are 3 potent instructions offered to us by the ancient mystics to stay healthy and beautiful even amidst the uncertainties and demands of this human life. Clean your lens, purify your vessel, and reclaim your birthright, health. Thanks for listening. I am Niv Rajendra, and until next time, bye.